Welcome to Smalltalk Daily for Friday, September 25th, 2009. This morning we're going to pick up from yesterday with the loadable components. We've opened up the parcel manager. We're going to pick up where we left off with distributed computing. This is where you'd look if you want to find one of a couple of things. Corba support, which is the DST underscore this stuff, that's distributed Smalltalk, it's all Corba. If you just want to use the OpenTalk services, so OpenTalk, Smalltalk to Smalltalk messaging, all the OpenTalk servers, which will be loaded as parts of other things. I mean, if you load in the Web Toolkit support, if you load in Seaside, you're going to get the OpenTalk HTTP server, for instance. SOAP, if you want to load web services, you're going to get the OpenTalk SOAP server. So a lot of this stuff comes in on its own as part of something else, but you can load it individually if you know what you're doing with this. Graphics and UI. All of this stuff is related to graphics, obviously. Business Object Toolkit, this gives you charts and graphs. Cairo graphics, this should come in much more cleanly in 7.7 than it came in 7.6. You shouldn't have to deal with the library issues as much. GIF Reader Writer, this stuff deals with fonts and animation. If you go down here to GFST, that's a 2D graphics framework for Smalltalk. HotDraw, same thing. Image readers, this gives you code. It'll come in with a lot of other things. It will read JPEGs and PNGs and a bunch of other graphics formats and bring those into Smalltalk images. And then there's OpenGL and Pango. A lot of this stuff is preview, like the OpenGL and Cairo stuff, but it is stuff that you might want to look at. Following down, Japanese Locale. This will bring in support for the Japanese Locale. If you're in Asia, you might be interested in that. Networking. This is one I load stuff from here a lot. If you just bring in net clients, this will bring up almost all of this stuff. It will not bring in stuff like MQ, which is the IBM MQS service. Other than that, it'll bring in pretty much everything in this list. SMTP support, SMTPS, POP3, and all of that kind of stuff. Web support's an interesting little one. It makes it easier to do posts and gets that include URL encoded arguments. Makes life a lot simpler. I've done some screencasts specifically on that. OS Windows. This gives you some stuff that is specific to Windows, like COM support, .NET support, registry support, shortcut support, a bunch of stuff like that. Other libraries, bunch of things that are kind of a grab bag of things like the Advanced Parser, BOSS, which is serialization, compression zip, compression zlib, regex support, which will come in as part of something like Web Toolkit, SMAC, which is another parser, Spellchecker 2, which is part of a couple of other tools but is contributed at the moment, tar support, write barriers, which has to do with syncing objects up when you're using things like object databases, and XPath support. Platform connectivity. This gives you a bunch of stuff you saw on the earlier side up above, but also JNI port comes in here. This is an implementation of talking between Smalltalk and Java using the Java native interface, and that's not our code, that's contributed, but it's a quite nice little package. Objective-C Connect, that's in preview right now, allows you to talk nicely to Objective-C libraries. Interesting and worth loading. Security, this gives you all of your encryption type libraries, so all of this stuff that you can do DES, AES, all that kind of stuff. Testing, down here you get SUnit, the SUnit extensions. Toys, that gives you some stuff like, I don't know, Golden Monkey, Castle Microsloth, Spider Solitaire Reversi, a bunch of games that are interesting and some extras that are interesting. Version control, this gives you all the store access, so store for various databases. Web development, this gives you a bunch of things. Seaside, AIDAWeb, Swazoo, this is an open source web server written in Smalltalk. Web Toolkit, this gives you the ASP, SSP style development as opposed to the Seaside style development. WikiWorks, if you're interested in loading wiki support, that gives you that. Finally, down here, web services. This gives you access to all of the stuff that I mentioned in brief when I went through the distributed libraries. Web services, various demos, various support pieces. You can load all this stuff in. Generally speaking, the two you want is Web Services Client and Web Services Server. They'll bring in most of what you need to do development. I've done screencasts on this. That's where we're going to leave it for part 2. Tomorrow we'll go through looking at the Directories tab and where that can take you, which primarily is into preview and contributed. So, until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.